So we've just talked about all of the ingredients that I keep in the RV. Let's talk about the equipment that I keep in the RV to turn all those ingredients into delicious meals. The kitchen space inside the RV is pretty small, so every single tool that I bring on board really has to serve a specific purpose, and often I want that piece of equipment to serve multiple purposes. These are the pieces of equipment that I found are really helpful for me when we're out in the RV. A few obvious things, perhaps. I've got a rubber spatula for scraping. I've got a microplane grater for grating cheese and citrus fruits. I've got a spatula for flipping eggs or pancakes, a can opener for the rare occasion we're opening something in a can, a peeler for peeling, measuring spoons, and a measuring cup for measuring if I'm working from a recipe or just portioning things out of jars or other small containers. If I'm honest, I'm not using those that often because I'm often cooking from intuition, but they're still very nice to have. The ladle for scooping and serving, a citrus juicer for juicing beautiful citrus fruits into dressings or cocktails, a whisk for mixing, and then a variety of kitchen knives. I carry 4 different kitchen knives plus a pair of shears on board at all times, a short chef's knife for most of my primary chopping, a serrated knife for slicing bread or cutting tender vegetables and fruits, a little paring knife for small tasks, and then this little Swiss Army guy is nice for if we go do adventures afield and I need a pocket knife to cut something when we might be away from the RV. This little tool also serves the purpose of opening wine bottles when we're not in the RV. And then, of course, a pair of kitchen shears for opening packages or trimming herbs or slicing something really quickly over a bowl if I don't want to use a knife. The last thing you'll see here is a meat thermometer that I use for if we're grilling or if I'm cooking something inside of a pan and I want to check its temperature. Let's talk about other pieces of equipment that aren't necessarily kitchen tools. Always on board, I keep a variety of plates and bowls that fit neatly into the compartments inside of our RV. Below our servingware here, we have a little cutting board. You're going to need to have a cutting surface inside of your RV, and this one in particular fits into the sink in our kitchen space, so it stores neatly without having to take up a lot of extra cabinet space. This little piece of equipment in my hand is a collapsible strainer that's very cool for making pasta or straining pasta or washing vegetables. We'll use it for many of the recipes that we're going to cook later in this course, and I just loved it because it fits neatly into the space that we have. Let's talk about the actual cooking. So our RV came with an induction cooktop, but I far prefer using flame or propane. So I brought on board this little collapsible stove that unfolds into 2 separate cooktops that can accommodate 12-inch cast iron or any type of skillet or pot. I like this because it literally doubles our cooking surface, and I like that the temperature is a little bit more easy to control because you're using an open flame. It does also mean that I have to carry propane on board, so if you choose to go this route, don't forget your fuel source. With respect to cookware, this is sort of a personal preference, but you'll find the pieces that you really love. I like keeping something small, compact, that fits really just for 2 people because that's the maximum number of people that we feel we can sleep in our RV. So we've got a little set of stacking pots and pans that fit neatly into the compartments next to the galley. I often carry a cast iron skillet as well, which is nice if we find ourselves in a situation where we can cook over an open flame or just for making super special things on the propane burner. There are a couple of other pieces of equipment that I really love to bring with us in the RV that help us to maximize the versatility of this vehicle. One of them is an electric rice cooker. This is so cool because it literally allows us to make fresh grains, to leave the RV for hours, and to come back home to a warm meal. And it plugs into the outlets inside of the RV. It's safe for us to leave, and it's just a really, really cool tool that I've loved having on board. In the wintertime especially, but often in the summer too, I also bring this along, which is a short 3-quart Instant Pot. This little machine allows me to make beans, to make stews, to make porridge, but it also can be left alone and basically cooks our meals while we're out mountain biking or skiing or hiking or snorkeling or swimming or any of the other things we might be doing from our RV. It's a really great way of opening up the possibilities of being on the road and eating beautiful meals, but without slaving over the stove for hours. There are 2 other things that I sometimes bring with me depending on where I'm going to be and what I want to be cooking. A portable grill that also runs on propane sometimes gets slipped into the garage section of the RV. And I also have an open fire pit that I use if I know we're going to have the opportunity to have a campfire, we want to make s'mores, or I know we're going to be able to grill. I've got 2 other pieces of equipment that I tuck into my kit if I know I'm going to be in that situation. One is a pair of tongs for serving open fire, and the other is a pair of marshmallow forks because you'd be crazy to leave home without these. Now that you know all of the pieces of equipment I've got on board, let's talk about a few last skills that are really, really important for your success in the kitchen, at home, and in your RV.